Have you ever felt exhausted from constantly living under other people's judgments? Have you ever felt anger, hurt, or confusion just because of a single comment, a failure, or an event beyond your control? The truth is this: we are not hurt by the world itself, but by the way we react to it. And if you are seeking a path where nothing can shake your peace of mind, then Stoic philosophy is the answer. In this video, you will discover 10 core principles of Stoicism distilled from the teachings of great philosophers such as Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. These principles will not only help you control your emotions and master your actions, but also build an inner strength as solid as stone, where criticism, failure, or misfortune can no longer unsettle you. If you are ready to live with strength, calmness, and freedom from anyone or anything that tries to control you, then this is the video for you. Begin now. Principle 1. Live with a steadfast purpose. In a world full of constant change where we are pulled by expectations, judgments, and temptations, the first lesson Stoic philosophy teaches us is this: know what you are living for. A life without purpose is like a ship drifting in the open sea, without a compass, easily swept away by the unpredictable winds of circumstance. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. It is in adversity that we truly see who we are." And one of the most powerful ways to stay grounded amid hardship is to have a clear sense of purpose, not short-term goals, not vague desires, but a deep awareness of your life's mission, something that guides your actions every single day, no matter how the outside world changes. To the Stoics, purpose does not arise from chance or fleeting inspiration. It demands self-examination, a continuous process of understanding oneself. To know what you truly want, what your core values are, and what greater meaning your life with all its joys, sorrows, pains, and happiness is meant to serve. The Stoics believed that purpose is the foundation upon which all other virtues are built. When you live for something greater than yourself, a principle, an ideal, a deep value, then external things such as failure, judgment, or injustice lose their power to defeat you. They become challenges, not definitions. To begin, ask yourself each morning, what am I living for today? What action will bring me closer to that value? Small actions, done daily, form the firm ground on which a life of direction is built. Once you have a clear sense of purpose, you will find it easier to master your mind and emotions, leading you naturally to the next principle on the Stoic path. Principle 2. Master your mind and emotions. Life is not determined by what happens to us, but by how we respond to it. In Stoic philosophy, an undisciplined mind is the root of suffering, because when we cannot control our emotions, we allow instincts to lead us and external circumstances to rule our inner world. Epictetus taught, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Anger, anxiety, jealousy, shame. These do not arise from the events themselves, but from the way we interpret them." Understanding this is the first step to breaking free from the vicious cycle of negative emotions. The Stoics did not suppress emotions. They observed, analyzed, and guided them with reason. Mastery of the mind is a practice, not a moment. It begins with small daily disciplines, reflecting each day, asking yourself, is this within my control? Practicing mindfulness in every action, and creating a pause between emotion and reaction. That pause is where freedom begins, because in that brief space, we are no longer bound to instinct. We can choose to act according to virtue. Furthermore, Stoics consciously shape their environment, surrounding themselves with wise and balanced people, avoiding toxic influences, and nourishing their minds with noble thoughts. They understand that the mind, like the body, grows strong through consistent training and healthy nourishment. When we master our emotions, we are no longer puppets of circumstance. We become our own commanders, calm amid the storm, steadfast in adversity, and unshaken by fleeting feelings that could destroy lasting peace. And once the inner world becomes steady, we are ready to face one of life's greatest tests, criticism and judgment from others, the lesson that awaits in the next Stoic principle. Principle 3. How to respond to criticism. No one lives without being judged. No matter how sincerely, carefully, or humbly we live, there will always be looks of doubt, words of sarcasm, and unfair criticism. But in Stoic philosophy, the issue does not lie with those who speak, it lies in how we receive their words. A Stoic does not live to please the crowd, but to live in accordance with reason and virtue. Epictetus once said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" This response is not sarcasm, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that we are all imperfect, and if someone criticizes us, they are merely seeing a small part of the truth. If the criticism is fair, be grateful it is a mirror that helps you see yourself more clearly. If it is false, let it pass like a breeze, no reaction, no resentment needed. The ability to endure and respond wisely to criticism is a true measure of inner strength. A Stoic practices composure, listening without anger, analyzing without pride, and responding without losing reason. They ask themselves, does my reaction reflect virtue? If not, silence is often the higher choice. Criticism, even when malicious, can serve as an opportunity for self-examination. It teaches humility, sharpens listening, and strengthens resilience. Above all, it reminds us that our true worth is not found in praise or blame, but in the integrity of how we live each day. Once we can stand firm amid judgment, we begin to understand a deeper truth. That insults, no matter how sharp, hold no real power when we learn to transform them. And that leads us to the next Stoic principle in the journey of self-mastery. Principle 4. Transforming insults into strength. An insult is like an arrow. It can only wound you if you allow it to pierce the armor of your inner self. For the Stoics, an insult does not truly come from others. It arises from our own internal reaction to their behavior. Therefore, if we change our perspective, we can transform insult into strength. Epictetus said, "Remember that it is not he who gives abuse or blows who insults, but the view we take of these things as insulting. It is our judgment that makes words insulting. In themselves, they are merely sounds." The Stoic learns to reframe the mind. When someone attacks them, instead of reacting with anger, they look deeper into the other person's motives, circumstances, and ignorance. This shift not only prevents hatred, but opens the door to compassion and understanding. Forgiveness, in Stoic thought, is not granted because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Holding on to insult corrodes the soul, while letting go allows you to move forward with steadiness and dignity. In practice, the Stoic creates a pause between insult and response. They ask, does this affect my virtue? If it does not, then no response is needed. Over time, this discipline teaches us to stand calm amid slander, to keep our dignity even when attacked, and to extract wisdom from the most uncomfortable moments. And once we are no longer wounded by the words of others, we are ready to face a deeper, quieter, yet far more dangerous enemy, fear and shame. That is the next doorway on the Stoic path to inner freedom. Principle 5. Overcoming fear and shame. Fear makes us shrink back. Shame makes us turn away from ourselves. Together, they are invisible chains that bind the human spirit, holding us back from growth and inner freedom. But to the Stoics, fear and shame are not burdens we are doomed to carry. They are emotions that can be understood, faced, and transcended through reason. Epictetus revealed their true nature. What frightens and dismays us is not external events themselves, but the way in which we think about them. We do not fear the event itself, we fear the meaning we attach to it. No one fears public speaking unless they fear being judged. No one feels shame about their past unless they hold a harsh view of themselves. Stoicism teaches us to observe fear, question it, and peel away the layers of illusion that distort reality. To overcome fear, the Stoic does not flee, they approach. They imagine the worst that could happen, accept it in their mind, and prepare to face it. They train themselves through small acts of courage, doing what makes them anxious, but within their control. Each time, the boundaries of the comfort zone expand, and courage becomes real. When it comes to shame, the Stoic chooses forgiveness not only for others, but for themselves. Every mistake is a lesson, not a sentence. Every step taken after a fall is proof of growth. They do not hide their imperfections. They live honestly with them, refine them, and refuse to let them obscure virtue. True transcendence does not come from denying emotion, but from facing it directly, understanding it deeply, and then choosing a higher response, one aligned with reason, purpose, and self-respect. And once we are no longer ruled by fear or confined by shame, we acquire the most essential weapon to face life's uncertainties: inner preparedness for adversity. That is the next principle in the Stoic journey. Principle 6. Prepare for adversity. Premeditatio Malorum. Life is full of surprises, loss, betrayal, accidents, illness. But instead of wishing for everything to go smoothly, the Stoics choose a different path. They prepare their minds for the worst that might happen. Not to be pessimistic, but to avoid being unprepared. Not to live in fear, but to live in readiness. Seneca once wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." When we anticipate hardship, it loses its power to destroy us when it comes. The Stoics called this practice Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Each morning, they reminded themselves, "Today, I may meet rude people, encounter failure at work, face bad weather, or suffer poor health." Not to frighten themselves, but to train the mind to receive all things as they are without complaint, without resentment. This exercise is also a cure for the illusion of control. When we understand that we cannot command outcomes, we learn to focus instead on virtue in action rather than the guarantee of success. Another gift of this practice is gratitude. By imagining the loss of a loved one, an opportunity, or one's health, we awaken a deeper appreciation for what we still have. We learn to love more sincerely, act more attentively, and live more fully in the present moment. The Stoic does not resist adversity, they befriend it. They do not wait for suffering to learn endurance. They strengthen their inner fortitude before the storm arrives. That is why, when misfortune strikes, they do not collapse, they stand firm. And once we are mentally prepared, no longer panicked by uncertainty, we are ready to move to the next stage, building inner strength, a strength that no one can take away, because it arises from within. That is the next principle in the Stoic journey. Principle 7. Building inner strength. Inner strength cannot be seen by the eyes, measured by achievements, or granted through the praise of others. It reveals itself in how we remain calm amid chaos, patient when misunderstood, composed in loss, and steady in rejection. For the Stoics, this is the highest form of strength because no one can take it from you unless you surrender it yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that if we place our sense of strength in external things, wealth, status, or praise, we will always live in instability. But if we root our power in our own mind, in our conscious actions, and in living according to virtue, then no circumstance can truly defeat us. To build that foundation, the Stoic trains daily. They keep a journal for reflection, remind themselves of their core values, distinguish between what is within and beyond their control, and practice gratitude even for the smallest things. Inner strength also grows from accepting oneself truthfully, without illusion, without hiding flaws, and without running from failure. Each time we are honest with ourselves, we grow stronger. Each time we face pain without complaint, we forge another layer of mental armor. The Stoics do not see strength as fiery intensity. They see it as quiet stability, unpretentious, unreactive, yet clear, steady, and unwavering. And once that inner strength is cultivated, the Stoic turns to the next essential discipline, maintaining self-control in action, ensuring that no impulse or emotion drives the will. That is the next principle on the path of Stoicism. Principle 8. Restraint, self-control in action. In a world where instant reaction is mistaken for strength, the Stoics choose the opposite path. They honor restraint. Not because they are weak, but because they understand that true power lies in the ability not to act when action is unnecessary, and not to react when things are unclear. A single impulsive act can destroy reputation, relationships, and even one's own integrity. Seneca emphasized this truth. No man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom does not mean doing whatever we want. It means ruling over ourselves. The Stoic trains not to be a slave to emotion, especially the impulsive ones, anger, jealousy, greed, or the hunger for control. They learn to pause, to observe the stirrings within, and only then decide whether action is worthy. Restraint is also a mark of wisdom, the awareness that not everything deserves a reaction, and not every situation requires a response. A careless word can wound deeply. A reckless act can undo years of steady building. The Stoics practice moderation in speech, in consumption, in relationships, and even in the pursuit of goals. They know when to advance, when to stop, and when to step back so as not to lose themselves. Restraint does not suppress individuality, it stabilizes it. It does not make one weak, it makes one trustworthy. The person who can govern their actions is the one capable of bearing responsibility, preserving trust, and acting for what is right, not for what is convenient. And once we have cultivated restraint, we are ready for one of the highest forms of freedom in Stoic philosophy, accepting reality as it is without resistance, resentment, or demand that the world bend to our will. That is the 9th principle in the Stoic path of self-mastery. Principle 9. Acceptance of reality. One of the deepest roots of human suffering is resistance to reality, The desire for things to be different, for people to be better, circumstances easier, and outcomes as we wish them to be. But for the Stoics, happiness is not found in bending the world to our will, but in learning to live in harmony with the world as it is. Epictetus taught, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy." Acceptance does not mean surrender. It is the act of a clear and conscious mind, seeing plainly what lies within our control, our attitude, reactions, and actions, and what lies beyond it, the words of others, natural events, death, or misunderstanding. The Stoic does not fight what cannot be changed. They receive it and then transform themselves to act virtuously within it. Acceptance opens the door to gratitude. When we stop comparing and drop excessive expectations, we begin to appreciate what is already present: a peaceful day, the presence of a loved one, or a simple meal. Stoicism does not teach false optimism. It teaches clear-eyed realism and the ability to find meaning within any condition of life. This practice also helps us face the unavoidable truths of existence: aging, loss, failure, and ultimately, death. Instead of fearing or avoiding them, the Stoic remembers that these are natural parts of life, and that precisely because life is finite, it is precious. True peace does not come when everything goes our way. It comes when, no matter what happens, we preserve virtue and remain steady. From that state of acceptance, the Stoic reaches the most foundational principle of all, the essence of the philosophy itself: to live according to nature, in harmony with the order of the universe, guided by reason and one's true human nature. That is the final principle of the Stoic path. Principle 10. Living according to nature. To live according to nature is not merely to exist in harmony with trees, rivers, or the physical environment. For the Stoics, nature carries a deeper meaning. It is to live in accordance with our true human nature, to be rational, morally responsible, and an inseparable part of both humanity and the universe itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This statement captures the essence of living according to nature in its most practical form. Act with reason and virtue, that is the way proper to a human being. Do not do what is unjust merely for gain. Do not speak what is false merely for safety. Do not live against your own conscience merely to be accepted. The Stoics believed that within each of us dwells logos, a spark of universal reason that connects us to the greater whole. When we live guided by this reason, we live in harmony with the natural order, without force, without arrogance, without separation. To live according to nature also means to live simply, not chasing excess, not being ruled by desire or envy, and not allowing passion to cloud judgment. It is a life of mindfulness and intention, where every word and every action reflects an awareness of one's place within something larger than oneself. This principle extends to how we live with others as well. Living according to nature means living with compassion, cooperation, and contribution. Not for recognition or reward, but because that is what a rational and virtuous being does. The Stoics saw humanity as a single organism, with each individual as a cell working to sustain the health and harmony of the whole. And finally, to live according to nature is also to accept death as a natural part of life without fear, resentment, or regret. For a life lived by reason and virtue is already complete, whether it lasts many years or few. This is not an easy path, but for the Stoic, it is the only path that leads to true inner freedom, enduring tranquility, and a life unshaken by anything that happens in the world beyond one's control. You have just journeyed through the 10 core principles of Stoic philosophy, principles that can transform the way you live, the way you face hardship, and the way you build an unshakable inner self. Life will never be easy, but if you hold on to reason, act with virtue, and focus only on what lies within your control, then nothing and no one will ever truly harm you. Remember this: real strength does not come from controlling others or circumstances, but from mastering yourself. When you live with a clear purpose, command your emotions, overcome fear, accept reality, and live in harmony with nature, you become not only stronger but freer. If this video has inspired you, share it with those who may also need inner strength, just as you do. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next reflections on Stoic philosophy and the art of living wisely. Thank you for walking with us until the very end. We'll see you again on the next journey, where you continue becoming the better version of yourself.